Right, ladies and gentlemen, viewers and listeners, we are back for the part two. Now, I know we left it on a bit of a cliffhanger, but let me explain. Let me say the question again. Boys, how do we feel about them saying we are 4 times, not 1, not 2, not 3, 4 times more likely to be infected by COVID-19?
I'll keep it brief. What I can say, man, they always put us one step away from that negative outcome, man. They always like to push that agenda. Now, how do I feel about it? Annoyed, which seems to be my theme. But if you look at it objectively, you could see why they would say something like that, because of where we tend to be on the social ladder. We're usually more confined spaces. Therefore, it's easy to assume or to say that we could be 4 times more likely to get it because we tend to be in more poverty-stricken areas, we tend to be in countless estates. And as how we are, we tend to be more close to each other. So that could be a justification for them saying it. But how they said it, to me, is more annoying than what they actually said.
And can I just say, off the back of you, Jay, just what to say, just in case people overlook what you just said, he's talking about social environments, accommodation, locations, and all stuff like that. But that's for another podcast.
I'll keep it brief as well. As simple as I'm used to my life being at risk anyway. So it is what it is.
Please repeat that again, because I don't think people got what you're saying. I don't think people got what you're saying.
I'm used to being a target. I'm used to being a number. I don't accept it, but I'm used to being looked at as a statistic or a headline or a soundbite. I'm used to all of that, so I just carry on, and I'm just going to carry on and be mindful of the guidelines, but not let that play, because once again, fear is the currency of control. Now, if all of us and our people start thinking, you know what, it's us, we're then susceptible or more susceptible to being controlled, not me.
And one more thing, that's like putting a target on our backs.
What do you mean it's like putting a target on our backs?
Well, that is, just by saying it is putting a target on our back.
It's putting a bigger target on our backs, you mean?
Ridiculous, but yeah, that's it.
I think we were born with one naturally when you're born in this country, but there you go.
So I wanted to understand their reasons behind this, because 4 times is ridiculous. So the way I looked at it, okay, let me try and understand. Let me not jump to conclusions. Let me not just kick off. Let me do some research again. So went online, searched. Now, ONS done a research. This was on the 17th of July that it was published. So this month. They said they couldn't say for definite if ethnic minorities were worse off due to the numbers and location. They could not say for definite. That was ONS. You can look it up. It's on there. Now, looked up, again, another site, Medical News Today is a site. That's when all this came up. So, but basically what they said, Black people were 4 times more likely to be infected by COVID, which is 62% of the number that they checked, right? Get this, the people they tested was 58 people. 58. Out of those 58, 36 tested positive. That's where they got their stats.
Right. So let's just take it as a whole first, and I'll go into that stats bit after. So the claim is that Black people are 4 times more likely to catch COVID-19 than any other ethnicity out there. Yeah. So here's my brain. So we know COVID is an airborne virus, right? We know COVID, you can catch it by touching surfaces that's been previously exposed to COVID-19, right? Cool. So here's what you're telling me. If there was let's just say this, a cloud of COVID, there's a cloud, there's an alleyway, it's about 20 meters long, and there's a whole cloud of COVID throughout that alleyway. If every other ethnic group of people walked through there, they are 4 times less likely to get it than if a Black person walked through there. Oh, you might think, oh, that's stupid, that's dumb. Because it is. I guarantee every person who walks through there is going to get it. Now, what's that saying is this, is that because there is no alleyway of COVID-19 that we're walking through, it's apparently across the whole world. That means that COVID-19 is more attracted to people of Black genetic makeup. And what it is saying is that, oh, boy, if we stick with the first narrative of the part of the first question, and around how there's a possibility that this could have been made, created, there was a testing of this done on animals. There was I guess a dry run of this, a simulation. Now, if this is steering towards Black people now, can't we put that in the same context of a targeted group, a purposeful act? Can't we use that same narrative, what we used in the first part of the podcast, with this part? Now, what that does as well is this. Here's the funny thing for me. It started in Wuhan, apparently, China. I never heard any newspaper or media outlet ever release any story saying this is a Chinese virus. Chinese people are more likely to catch the virus. Chinese people started it. I never saw that narrative. There was never any direct correlation.
Except for Donald Trump saying that.
Donald
obviously.
Trump is an entity unto himself. Like
Yeah.
he's a whole nother podcast. Just him alone. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, reputable media outlets did not have the confidence or the will to put this on their newspaper and print it saying the Chinese is practically the problem. Now, when you say Black are 4 times more likely, you are in essence saying stay away from Black people. Stay away from Black people, because if you don't, you too will be 4 times more likely to catch COVID. And you don't want that, so stay away from them. Well, as M said, this was normal anyway. This was normal anyway. For being a Black man within Britain right now, you were born with a target on your back. And this speaks to my Black sisters out there too. But I'm speaking from a Black man's point of view. And I believe Black men are targeted more. Yeah? Now, this is just another spin on the news, which puts another target on our back. What's different, man?
So let me, sorry to cut you, Kay. Let me just add. So I dug deeper into why they thought that. So what they said was due to our high blood pressure and diabetes.
Oh, here we go.
Right? You hear this? That's why we are more prevalent among Black people.
But I thought it was respiratory COVID.
Yes. Fried chicken and watermelon.
I thought it was respiratory. I thought it wasn't. Oh, so you're changing the whole narrative now.
That's some of the reasons, and also it goes on to say,
can't even stick to their own story.
Other factors, where we work, education, income, and structural barriers to healthcare.
Oh, the usual ones then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
there's the same. It's like they have. It's like you get Instagram picture. It's the same caption underneath. You just change the picture from one, whether it be this pandemic, whether it be we're one step away from jail, whether that be like that we achieve less in school. Do you know what I mean? Or we have a glass ceiling in industries. Like it's the same caption.
Exactly. Yeah, because we're 4 times more likely to get arrested by the police, aren't we? So we're 4 times more likely to get COVID.
7.
Oh, 7.
So just to put a little twist on there, I thought, right, how is that? If us as black people, we've got all these issues, like they say, diabetes and high blood pressure, then the likes of the West Indies and Africa and Afro-Caribbeans will be getting rummaged by this, wouldn't they?
Look,
you would think.
Look,
So I
mate,
looked up. Wait.
It's too much.
I
It's too much.
looked it up. I thought, let me look up. Let's see these figures. So I looked up in Africa. So far, the cases are 736,587. Yeah, those are the cases, with a death rate of 15,424. That's in Africa. That's across 54 countries.
Wow.
That's quite low,
Very low.
That's what I'm saying.
That to certain figures.
Exactly, across 54 countries.
Wow.
So if you're saying we've got all these issues and we're more likely to get COVID, how comes our brothers and sisters in the motherland are not being ravaged? Some may say, oh, maybe the report is not correct. But
sorry, T, can you say them stats again, please? Let this sink into the people.
The stats are the cases so far. I looked it up, live cases of Africa as a whole is 736,587. Confirmed
736,000, yeah?
Yep.
Confirmed cases in how many different countries?
Over 54 countries.
Oh, really?
The whole continent. This is the whole continent.
Oh, really?
Right? And the death is 15,424.
Oh, but I thought black people more likely to...
No, that's Western black people. Didn't you read?
Oh, okay, sorry.
Sorry.
No,
you misread it.
Sorry, guys.
It's because we don't attain well in school. Sorry.
It's definitely something in the water, isn't it? It's definitely something in the water that's affecting us.
I just want to say my country is number one in the world for the response to COVID-19, and our region in the Caribbean is one of the lowest in terms of cases and deaths.
Well, can I just say this?
I bust that myth as well. That's a myth.
It is a myth. And the thing is, to back off what Jay said, yeah, big up on that, Jay, yeah. The Caribbean, the confirmed cases, this is not even deaths, confirmed cases over the whole of the Caribbean is 80,062.
Wow.
But I thought black people were more susceptible to it.
Exactly.
So what's going on here?
Scaremongering, that's what's going on. Scaremongering.
Fear is the currency of control.
And if you deep that, yeah, if you really deep that one phrase there, fear is the currency of control. What that has done is turned fear into almost a business-like transaction. So in order for me to spend, so I can control over certain targets that I want to target, I must have to earn what? It's not a trick on question, boys.
A whole heap of money.
But it's not money we're talking about. What are we talking about?
Yeah.
Oh,
control.
so in order for me to spend, to control, I have to earn fear. Mm-hmm. And how do I earn fear?
By installing it in others.
By installing it in people's inception. Inception, man. That's how I earn my money. My fear is inception.
It's deep.
I just want to reiterate to the listeners and the viewers that everything we're saying, you can look it up yourself. Don't take our word for it. Look it up for yourself and see what we're saying. I think what we're trying to promote right now is don't just take what you're hearing on the social media and all these main news outlets as facts. Check them. See what they're saying. Make up your own mind.
And
you may think like we're just...
Sorry, T, I don't mean to jump in, but if you believe that because there's 6 of us black men here, remember, this news story and article is actually speaking about us. For me personally, I don't speak for the rest of my boys. If you honestly believe I am 4 more times likely to have COVID, guess what? Stay away from me, brother. I'm not begging nobody to come near me, you know. I'm cool. So if you believe that, stay away. Stay away.
But also, look at the timing. Because that's another thing we haven't touched on. the timing of all this, more black people 4 times more likely to get affected by COVID, was around Black Lives Matter, no? That's when this was all being pushed. So if we look at the timing, we're looking at what's the real agenda here? Stay away from them. That's 1. 2, be against them. Like he said, it's now a bigger target on us because obviously we're going to be spreading this COVID-19, is we're most likely to get it. It paints a bigger picture. When you start to piece these little things here and there, you do your own research, you think, okay.
I just think it's helping to demonize, black people like it normally does. That narrative is, just designed to demonize us again and keep us ostracized from the rest of the society at large.
Yep, I second that. We as a people, some people say, have we ever been accepted? Are we ever really going to integrate? The target's always on our back, It's like I said, we go back to the whole Instagram picture and caption thing. It's nothing new. It's a new story, but with the same content, if it makes sense. Like, and that's where it is. Like, it leaves me speechless, and at the same time, it's like I don't have the effort to have to explain this to people, because you get those stories will come out. I'll take my work for example. Those stories will come out. You've got people that will approach me and be not cautious in what they say, but they want to know how I feel. Weirdly, how I feel about, you need to be careful. So, just you guys need to be careful. They're trying to say, they want to say, black people are more likely to get it. I mean, but they don't really want to say black people are more likely to get it.
Yeah, exactly.
You guys need to be careful when you're out there. Make sure you wear your mask and your gloves and things like that. And I'm like, sometimes I just want to say, like, you can ask me. Like, you can ask. Like, it's. I don't feel any way of speaking to you about this. Like, you're coming. This one guy, he's got heart problems. You know what I mean? He walks with a limp. He's got other ailments, but he's asking me. He's telling me to be careful. And that I need to be careful because I'm, 4 times more likely to get it. Like, I said, do you know what? It comes from a good place, but I'm good. I'm okay. If you don't want to be near me, like Kay said, if you don't want to be near me, that's fine. I'm still coming to work, and so wait. Then that's where I feel about it. Like, it's just another narrative. Like, my head's still up and my shoulders are broad, so it's cool.
And that's exactly how the mentality. This is what hopefully the viewers and listeners can understand. Like, we're not sitting here having this conversation we're not victims. So we're not crying and complaining that no one's accepting, or we're just saying like how it is. But we're also saying like we're beyond that point of kind of really getting stuck into that, because that in itself is oppressive. That's just trying to keep us in that same rut. I say things like, you know what, I'm used to it because I am used to it, but my build is somewhere else. So whereas other people are trying to claw their way out of this like deep hole of like just trying to be accepted, allow all that. I'm accepted by the people that I want to be accepted by. So you can have your little stories, whatever, but I'm still going to keep on moving. Yeah. Whereas a lot of people will think, they're moaning about it, but what are they doing anything about it? Watch us do something about it. But don't complain. Don't complain when we rise up and we do something about it. And they've actually made something of it. Don't say anything. Yeah.
100%.
You know what I mean? So I just want people to understand, like, we're coming from a place of actually just explaining, especially for our maybe younger viewers or people that may not have got to that point or have that confidence or have the people around them to kind of open their eyes up a little bit more. Because you can be consumed by the media if you're in it, whether it be social media or media or on the telly or just by conversation. You can be consumed by it if you're not careful. I'm sure we've all been there at some point. None of us are perfect. Let's just have it right. But what I'm saying is that we're saying that to say this, and this part is we don't want to be one step away from being in fear or walking on eggshells. We want to be one step closer to X, Y, and Z, which is positive outcomes. So I just needed to put that in there. Sorry to cut you guys off.
No, you're absolutely right in everything you said. There's no need to apologize. You're absolutely right. But I just want to pose another question to you guys and the viewers and the listeners. As they said, because of our work, most of us are front row workers. My parents are. Now, I wonder what would happen to the NHS itself if we all said, okay, since we're 4 times more likely to get infected, we're not coming.
I'm done.
No, seriously. I just want someone to ask themselves that question.
See, you know this magical PPE that wasn't available. See how quick it come.
It soon turn up. It soon turn up. Yes.
Oh, we found it. We found the missing batch. Move from you, man.
Exactly.
Imagine that. Imagine if they did tell everyone and say, look, because of the statistics, I'm not coming to work. Imagine that.
Yeah, NHS mash up.
That's what I'm saying. What T's saying. Mash up. Mash up. And that surely that applies for like all ethnic minorities. And you think of the makeup of the NHS.
Yeah.
You think of the makeup of the NHS and who administers what, and those that are in positions to take care of people. Well, let's expand that past the NHS, yeah, and go to care homes.
Oh my God.
And then let's go past that and go into transport.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah. Should I? I'll stop.
And one quick thing. Did anyone recognize when throughout all the publications about the NHS, there was next to no representation of black ethnic minorities?
100%.
I saw that even when Boris came out and he was thanking the other nurses, the Filipino nurses and everything. I thought, I wonder where you were, because in London, that whole hospital, literally 80% will probably be, our people there.
Ethnic minorities, 100%.
Yeah, 100%.
I did see one interview. I can't remember if it was BBC, ITV, or Channel 4, but they were speaking to all socially distancing. But they were speaking, and all the head nurse, she was a black woman, and they had 2 doctors out there. I think they're both Asian. And they were the 3 that they had presented as talking to that hospital in the NHS. And I thought, it's funny that, because the rhetoric or the narrative will be that we are more in danger, the lives of the NHS workers and all this kind of stuff. But yet we've got 3 ethnic minorities on the screen there. So I feel like they're trying to slyly play both sides, if it makes sense.
Just imagine that happened. What you guys said, just imagine that happened, where all the black and ethnic minorities from the NHS, the public transport system, and like key workers, frontline care homes, they all decided, because of these stats that have been sent out, they took their ball and went home and said, you know what, for my own health and safety, I don't want to be exposed to that because I want to live.
Of course. But there's examples of that in sports.
No, but what my question is, do you think the rest of the world or public in England would accept that? Or so would it be, you know what, that's a fair point, you all stay at home? Or would it be, they're bloody selfish, they get paid for it? Like, what response do you think that we would get if that was to actually happen? Like, if we would say, you know what, I'm going home because actually I fear for my life and I'd rather, my life is more important, and that actually has a even massive effect on the economy and also the National Health Service.
Black Lives Matter.
What do you think?
Exactly.
Wow.
It's a question. It's a question for you guys and also maybe the viewers as well.
It's not even worth having, really. It's a lose-lose situation, isn't it? You're thinking of yourself, going by the statistics that are coming out. You're thinking of yourself and your family and your loved ones. You're also a key worker or an NHS worker, so you're thinking of the care that the skill set that you have, that you've trained your whole career to have and obtain. You've got that skill set, but yet you can't use that, or the statistics say that you're in danger. So the sensible thing to do is to stay at home and self-isolate and keep your skills at home.
So two things on that. If you remember, there was a bit of controversy around that when some nurses were refusing, saying we're not going to work without PPE, and there was outrage. Some were coming out saying, well, they're taking off. It's their job. That's what they're paid to do. And my mum, actually, I was having a conversation with my mum, and she was like, yeah, I took an oath, but I didn't say I want to go to my deathbed willingly. I want to kill my family. That's not what I signed up for. But I can't remember when it was actually the dates, but if you look back, there was a bit of controversial thing that happened around that. Second thing, from your question, Ems, they know. I guess that this is for another podcast, but they know that we wouldn't do that, because all they'll say is, oh, by the way, we're not going to pay if you do that. And they know. Because of that, we'll have to go in.
So just speaking on top of that as well, because I heard all your lot of points of views, man. And it's just a deep one, really. I just want to bring R in on that too, but on a level, the response would be chaotic in this country alone. If we really think about the withdrawal of black services or black servitude for this country, because
we're not inciting that that's what we want to do. I'm just saying it's a hypothetical situation.
Listen, it's not a hypothetical situation for me. Yeah. It's not a hypothetical situation for me whatsoever. Can any of you correct me if I'm wrong? Based on historic, I always like to look back into the past. R, that'd be nice if you can jump in here too, R, because I know you got that knowledge. Based on historical knowledge, based on outcomes done towards black people, based on the current stats and the current status that we have in society, is there a reason why we're still invested in this society as much as we are? That's a big question there. That's a big question.
That really is. It really is. I mean, it's a difficult one, actually. I don't know how to elaborate, to be honest.
Well, if we base things on history, if we base things on current stats and our current status, and now we're hearing this story that, not only is it all that and all that we've done to you and your people and all this economic and prison system, mental health services, job field, you're all on the bottom. You're also more susceptible to COVID. What message is that saying? What message is that actually telling us?
It's just saying that but by saying that we're, if we're at the bottom, we're not getting anywhere. That's what it's just basically saying. It's saying that we're not prosperous, and we're kind of like in a sense, a kind of a lost cause, which isn't the truth.
And how does that make you feel? Does that make you want to live with and work with this entity?
I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think we have much of a choice, but obviously, we don't have much of a choice, but it doesn't paint a good picture for black people going forward, because it's trying to give across this impression that we are in some way less than, and that's not the truth. We're positive.
And it's almost like, let's say like we have this house party and everyone's invited, yeah? Apart from you, would you turn up still and want to try and go to the party? Of
course not. I mean, I've been ostracized. I've not been invited.
Oh, really? Okay. So is that a similar message that we're getting from society?
Of course, very much so. Very much so. For decades, there's been systems that have been put against us.
So all I'm asking is, why are we still knocking on the door trying to get into the party? That's the one.
I know. It's kind of crazy because especially around this whole COVID situation, I was speaking to my mum, and obviously she's a registered nurse as well. Mm-hmm. And when this whole pandemic broke out, they ripped to all their nurses that were in the Caribbean, but that were still registered, to come back to the UK and offer up their services to help with the the whole pandemic.
I'll jump on the back of that because I have a family member that's also a retired registered nurse, and she'd been asked to come back to come and help with this because it was almost like your country needs you.
Yes,
And
it was basically like a call to action.
It was one of those Winston Churchill-esque kind of,
especially right after the Windrush scandal. We got to think about this. They didn't want us in the country.
Yeah,
they kicked us out. Yet they're calling us back.
Yeah, I had a family member that was asked to come back, and but she didn't.
I hear that, man. I hear that, and that's so deep to hear that from you two. I didn't even know that information. I didn't even know they were even asking for people who were retired and in different countries to come back to the UK to actually work and give your servitude. Now,
100%.
How disgusting is this, though? You've already put out the narrative in the news that you're more susceptible 4 times, but then that didn't matter when they needed staff members, though. They then They then called you back to do what? Put yourself at risk.
At risk again, yeah.
To do what? To work for the same country that wanted you out of the country, as Jay said with the Windrush scandal.
Of course. Yeah, and yeah.
It's almost like, how many more beatings do you need to take to understand that you're not wanted?
Yeah, 100%.
Or do you need another 4 more lashes? No? 8. Okay, 20. Okay, 400. Until you get the point, you're not welcome in this party.
Well, according to their father's science, we don't feel pain anyway.
That's another podcast.
Well, you wouldn't if you were 3/5 human.
So's the Windrush.
Jeez, you just got 3 references there, people, by the way, which are all deep.
But I may say, though, as part of the reason why we felt it was necessary for us to do this was for us to promote cohesion amongst our people. Now, that's not promoting separatism, but that's us realizing, okay, the game we're playing is rigged and it's never going to be fixed. So what we'll do, we'll create our own game. Like Em said earlier, we're all about building ourselves now. If someone doesn't want me on their table, I'm building my own table.
Yeah.
For me, that's where we are looking to change that narrative. Yes, unfortunately, our parents have gone through it. There's nothing we can do to change that. Our parents have kept going to the same people who are beating them down or who are abusing them. They've kept going there because they didn't have a choice. All they wanted to do was to survive and make sure they give us a better future.
Mm.
I'm sure we've had, all of us here have had a lecture from our parents where they'll say, everything I've done is to make sure I give you a better future. I am sure on that. I put money on it. We've all had
100%, 100%.
right? So for me, what we're about is now building our own. Let's make that clear.
I think you put that eloquently, man. You put that so eloquently.
The time for us to keep going and be long-suffering is no more. We're not promoting violence or anything like that. We're not inciting anything. All we're saying is, if you don't want us on your table, that's fine. We'll build our own. All we want from you then is not to come and do the Black Wall Street again.
Another podcast.
Yeah.
That's another thing,
wow.
right? But that's all I'm saying. We've seen it all. We've done the research. We know this game is flawed. We know for us, we can't change this system. As much as we would want to change it, we cannot change it. It's gone deep enough. We can't change it.
And I feel you speak so much truth to that point, man, because this is what people need to... When you don't understand something, I guess a lot of tendencies are to either try to destroy what you don't understand or try to make as if the person or entity that is not in understanding that they need to learn more or that they need to do more. And I think that narrative has been pushed in terms of the stereotypes to, I guess, black people being lazy, black people being, which is the funniest stereotype I've ever heard, black people being lazy, when you consider the centuries of work that we've done for free, which no other person would do, but we done it by force. But we still worked, and we built countries and built nations to this day that stand to this day. But apparently we're the most laziest. So that's the real funny narrative. But my point is,
working for...
yeah, when we start working for free, they say, "Damn, you're lazy." But yeah, I guess the point that I'm making is this: as T said, as we are saying, as one step away from, we are not about separatism. Here's what I am about. I'm just clarifying this. The best way I can put it is this. If you have someone who is in good health, in good order, they are stable, they have a good home, roof over their head, food, everything like that. I'm talking about groups of people, nations right now. I'm not talking about an individual. Of course, you can get an individual that comes from my background that is living just fine. But when the majority aren't, that's when it's a problem for me. Now, what I'm saying is this. As a nation, I guess this is symbolic, what I'm talking about right now. So you have one person who is dressed nice, just fine, no health issues, nice house, nice food and all that, living life, got luxuries and all sorts. And then you have someone who doesn't have that. And in fact, they have a gash in their leg and they're bleeding out from their leg. But then the third person comes along and says, well, we all matter and we all can push forward and we all got the same opportunity. Well, no, not really. We don't all matter, because if we all mattered, we would get everyone to the same status. Well, we all don't have the same opportunity because I can't even use two legs, so I've got a gash in my leg. Now, what I'm saying is when I'm the third person walking into that situation as one step away from, we're going to look at the situation and see, okay, he's doing fine. He's not doing fine. Let's tend to who's not doing fine. Let's get him to a point where he is fine. And then let's look at both parties and say, we can all move as one now. Well, we can't move all as one until the person who's injured gets fixed, until he has the same opportunity and same status as the person who is doing fine. And that's what we mean in the essence of we are going to build our own table then, because we've been shown through history. Remember this. This is through history, people. We have been shown and told through history we are not wanted. And I don't know how many times it's got to be banged into our head on a physical sense and mental sense that we are not wanted. If you were wanted, then wouldn't you treat that person better? Wouldn't you naturally want to treat that person better? And I'm not talking about the individual people who are the British citizens and such. There are individuals out there who love everything that they see. And more power to you. But when you become the Borises of this world, when you become the head of and CEOs of all these major corporations that really have a say in the power structure of this system, then unfortunately, your goodwill and your good voice is drowned out massively. So that's what we're speaking to. We are speaking to systems, we are speaking to nations, and we're speaking to our impression. We are not speaking to individual people.
Couldn't have said it better. So, brothers, I've got another question. Obviously, we know they announced a couple of days ago about the vaccine and the deal they've struck. 90 million vaccines to say. They said they've struck a deal. Now, before we discuss that, there's another thing for me is quite dear to me. Obviously, I'm from that continent myself. But how do we feel about them promoting this idea of having trials in Africa? Open to the floor.
For me, it seems time and time again, even speaking more to what Kay just said, is like we tend to be, and what Art said actually, we tend to be the ones that almost are like the guinea pigs in this situation. They said we are 4 times more likely to get it. The data actually shows the opposite of that. Yet they want to test out the vaccine amongst us. Why would you want to do that if you haven't got a hidden agenda behind that?
You know, I'll jump on the back of that as well. I mean, you don't have to go back too far, but you know, I think it was during the 1930s, they had experimented with black people using this new science called eugenics. And to me, what I see there, where they're experimenting, where they're planning on experimenting this new vaccine in Africa, is just another form of eugenics, because obviously they're going to be using it on black people again.
Can you explain to the people what the basis of eugenics is?
Well, eugenics is really a racist science. It's a science that, you know, was kind of brought about during Hitler's time, during the Second World War, when he was, you know, experimenting with Jewish people, but then, you know, it was taken on where they started to experiment with black people and people of color, using us as, you know, the guinea pigs, so to speak.
For in essence, for biological warfare.
100%.
That's basically what the essence of it. Yeah, biological warfare.
Very much.
And I mean, logically, why would you not want to test it on the people that are being most affected? I'm sorry, I know I'm laughing here, but just thinking about it doesn't make sense. Like, why would you not want to test on the people that are most affected? Why would you go to the people that are least affected to test it en masse? That just shows they're literally telling us what they're doing, like straight to our face.
Exactly. And for some listeners and viewers, they may think, well, what would the African leaders allow it to happen? You know, they would throw that question in there. For me, yes, now they're saying it out loud, but if I may maybe educate or remind people that not even as far as early 90s, there's a pharmaceutical company who went and experimented in Nigeria, West Nigeria, on kids. Now, they went in there, tested a new drug, and the effects are still being felt to this day, to a point where there's a 6 billion lawsuit against this pharmaceutical company. It's a massive one. Look it up again. That's something you can check. They went in there, done what they did. No one knew what was going on, and left. Until the WikiLeaks came out, no one had any idea. It was only because of the WikiLeaks that's when all this came out.
And my final point on Africa, I really believe they choose Africa because of the state of Africa in terms of how they are indebted to the rest of the world. So even the leaders may not even have a choice in whether or not they can deny people testing, mass testing, pharmacies testing on their population, because Africa is so indebted to the West and Europe. We're almost a free-for-all.
I agree. And I think for us as a group and also for our wider community, because I think what we have to accept now is that we have a community in terms of the people that are listening to us right now. Just because you're a leader, you can be a political. So going back to the economics of this COVID-19, just because you are a leader or an MP doesn't mean that you have greater power than a corporation or a head of a corporation. That's not the real world. Like, technology and AI and people that have the power obviously from a financial standpoint, but from an influential standpoint, from what they create, the products that they own, the information that they hold, data companies, things like that. It's not just, oh, we've got suits on, we're going to make all the decisions. No, if a corporation pushes something or they were to threaten to take something away, then that's where people get crippled. Or what I mean by crippled is in terms of their power to express themselves. So I don't mean that in the physical way. So the world is not as straightforward as, okay, we're going to get all our leaders to agree. No, if corporations are involved, and we can use all these organizations, I don't even need to name them, but there's like, when you get to a certain level, like, we're not just talking about, oh, I'm a singer, I'm a musician, I've got this amount of money. That's nothing in the grand scheme of things. Yeah, it's something to all of us. I get it. But when I'm talking about power, political power, when you don't even need to be a politician, they're the movers and shakers. And when these people are investing money in which a lot of the world would kind of deem as reputable companies like World Health Organizations, etc., to name a few, when you've got other corporation leaders investing and pumping money in, why do you just using a presidential campaign? People go around and campaign. They campaign for money. Why do people give their money to the presidential candidates? So when 5 months down the line, when they need a favor, remember that £20,000 I put towards your campaign, or 2 million or 5 million. It's all about power and influence. So the more money you've got, the more you invest into the company, you have more influence over those companies that you deem as kind of upstanding. Well,
100%.
actually, no. And it goes back to even in normal working environments, and I can attest to this in previous work employment, in certain industries that I've worked in. You're working on the front line, or you're the manager of frontline people, and we have a set of rules in terms of what we can and can't accept from in certain industries. But sometimes we get a phone call, or sometimes we got oh, that's the director of thingy, so we are going to accept that thing that we normally decline because it's the CEO of. So if it happens at that level, what on earth does anyone think is happening on world level?
And I just wanted to jump on the back of that, because you're speaking to something that is technically another whole section to itself. So off the back of what you just said, Em. So we're talking about ultimately what? Money and movement of money. That's what corporations hold. That's their power. Their influence come with how much assets they have, how much resource they can shift and move, and it all comes down to the monetary value of that. So now I get to a point of this. If I wanted to transfer money from the UK to another country, who do I need to go through?
Bank.
Okay. So if I'm now, for example, you gave M a corporation who wants to fund a certain political party, how does that political party get the funds that I want to send? If I want to just buy simple commerce from a shop like Tesco, as we talked about with the toilet roll, and I pay Tesco for their resource, what does it need to go through first?
The bank.
Oh, really? So now we're talking about political powers, and we're talking about how money and resource is a push towards directives of how world systems move. So if we understand that these little buildings that we have, these cards in our wallets, are actually in control of all movement of commerce, now we get to possibilities. I'm going to say possibilities for a reason, of who is in power potentially. I'm going to say potentially for a reason, not necessarily who we just choose to vote in by ballot, potentially. So just think about that. Just think about, if you can't actually do anything without an involvement of a certain organization or group, then maybe that organization or group has more power and influence than you originally believe.
100.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's scary to even think about it though. When you break it down like that, it is scary that we can't actually make certain moves without even having a middleman, or our money passing through someone to another conglomerate. Like, we're literally just pawns on the chessboard. Like, on the flip side, imagine if we had our own economy.
Yeah.
Even more so, everything now that they're doing, it seems like they're phasing out cash transactions.
Gosh, I knew you were going to say that.
Right. Even for
Definitely.
parking. Even for parking parking meter. I went to park the other day on the street and then to pay and display. I get there. You don't take cash anymore. It's cards.
Parking app. Or they have a parking app.
The Apple the card,
Parking app,
Apple the card now. You don't take cash.
They literally put a card.
Yeah.
So it just compounds what Kay said.
Even more what you said. A man recently reported just over the last 2 days that Jeff Bezos, the owner of Amazon,
just made billions, isn't he?
Billion in 24 hours. Yeah. That's all cashless. 13 billion cashless.
That's what I'm saying.
Wow.
Yeah.
24 hours. Imagine that.
Yeah, I see articles and pictures of him, like my man's beaming ear to ear. Ear to ear. I work within that industry anyway, so like doing the whole logistics thing, and it's crazy. Like obviously you have your peak times, say around Christmas. It's a peak time, everyone's going mad and ordering and things like this. But it's the same premise now. People can't go out and shop, but now they're at home and they're just click, and like things are just heaving, absolutely heaving. Like I know debt is going to be a massive thing over this period of time. Whether you're in a small business or whether you're in a household struggling to make ends meet, like debt's going to be a massive thing now.
That's the legacy.
He made history. No one has ever done that before. Do you know that? No one has ever made that kind of money.
4 hours. That is a huge amount of money.
That's one of the legacies of COVID-19 is more so. And once again, I'll quote conversations or kind of podcasts and stuff, other podcasts that I've looked into, like London Real. They allude to the fact that it's not the health itself where that's going to be the long-lasting legacy. It's the economic impact that this COVID-19, whether it be manufactured or not, will have for years and years to come. But it's the separatism is the fact that the people that have been able to survive are the global, the big conglomerates, the big companies. Not all of them, but the big ones, where all their chess pieces were already laid out before the game has even started, or they played all the moves.
They already knew the moves.
But the small businesses, the local businesses, the upstart companies, the small to medium, they're the ones that have taken
What do they call it? The mom and pops, the mom and pop businesses.
But that's what I mean. But if you break those businesses down, what do these people that have worked their whole life savings, etc., and now it's just a lot, not all of them, but it's come to pot. Who are they now dependent on?
The government again.
There you go. Control.
Bring the people back. People got some independence. It's the same thing that happened. Like we've lived through a recession. Yeah, but the one before. The recession before that, we knew nothing different. Whatever came at the end of that was our norm. So now we all led up to this new recession. The government, the whole housing bubble burst, and do you know what I mean? Like when we grew up, you could go shop for £1 and bring back 10 Space Invaders, 10p a pop. Do you know what I mean? Now everything's at 25p. Then everything's going up. From marathons moving to Snickers, everything's gone up. These are all new behaviours now. So my children now growing up know nothing of recession. They know that they have to live within the rules that come out of that recession. And the same kind of recession that's going to happen now at the end of this COVID pandemic is going to be again. It's going to be more new norms.
I'll be honest. I'll jump on the back of that. I mean, I do remember the first recession that when I left school back in 1987. There was a recession that lasted for about 8 years into the early 90s and early to mid 90s, and that was a big recession. And I think it was Margaret Thatcher's government that was in at the time.
Yep.
And that was a huge recession. Inflation was at an all-time high and stuff like that. But you see, the recession that we're in now is a biblical one. But that's for another podcast.
100.
Oy.
And that's levels on that one. Just want to refocus it as well because, too many gems are being dropped right now. In regards to the relation to Africa, now we talked about currency, money, banking systems. Now, let's say let's say if a banking system or banking systems are owned by a finite group of people or family, if I'm not sure whether they are or not, do your research. If that is the case, if that is the case, that certain banking systems that control mass movement of money across the world are owned by a very finite small group of people, and these so-called, if it is the case, small group of people have a agenda which they may or may not have, depending if they are real or not, then how would they then be able to impact a certain group or continent, such as Africa, when it comes down to I guess, having power and influence over what they can and can't do? Now, let's go back to the age old. Let's look back at history. Has there been any evidence that historically Africa has been used as the world's trash bin to dump so-called waste and products because of a so-called debt that can never be repaid? I don't know. Has that been the case?
Yes.
Has Africa been used? These are rhetorical questions, by the way. Has Africa ever been used at any point in time historically as a place where resources can be drained out of you to the point where you are, I guess, bled dry? I don't know. Has it ever been?
Yes.
Has Africa ever been a target because of the amount of abundant resources? So therefore, to incur debt into that continent would be beneficial for the whole world, because then you then become a cesspool, not a cesspool, sorry, you become a gold mine for people to pick, almost like Woolworths pick a mix, but it's free. You get all sorts you can pick from. So then would it be, I guess, crazy to say, I'm going to use that dismissive word, would it be a conspiracy theory to say that Africa will then again be targeted by so-called organizations that have power to experiment, to test out certain vaccines that maybe pharmaceutical companies are going to benefit from because they need to receive payment too, and then pressure then put on certain presidents in order to take these vaccines and experiment on their people? Has there been previous medical vaccines and viruses and medication that's been used in Africa in the past? Who knows? Well, if you find that out, you might find that answer out to that question.
All the answers are yes to your questions, just saying.
Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah, I was about to say the same
for the benefit of our listeners that want to learn, a fast track, a slow track is actually, yes, doing your own research and finding it out yourself. We'd always encourage
No,
that.
let them work, man.
No, I know,
Let them work.
But depending on your learning style, because we're all different. Some are visual learners, some are audible learners, some are, I can't remember what the other one is, yeah? But the point is...
Kinesthetic.
There you go. The point is that...
get back to us. Have a look and get back to us.
Make a note in the comments.
So with that being said, one last question for me, guys. The vaccinations. What's our thoughts? I touched on it earlier. The government just announced they've struck a deal, 90 million vaccines over the course of the ending of this year and next year.
Yeah.
I take it probably this will be mandatory.
That's another question. That's two questions there. That is another question. Trust me.
He tried to sneak another one in, didn't it?
Of course.
My mandatory answer to that is no.
But that don't make sense, because what does the word mandatory mean?
Yeah, then what does the what says the vaccine in this? But they don't even know. Like this could be like the common cold.
But it doesn't matter. The word was mandatory.
Well, that comes with a whole and a plethora.
So just hold your arm out. Just hold your arm out for me quickly.
I mean, will it be? Will they put it into things like how? Remember, you have the TB jab at school. Will it be? Yeah. Or will it be like the MMR, measles, mumps, and rubella? Do you know what I mean? Will it be like my children having getting jumped in their leg every 6 weeks when they were growing up and having to hold mice and screaming and that. Do you know what I mean? And you've got the nurse across the way, and I'm questioning what do these things do? Why is this? Why is that? And all she can come out with is scaremongering and death rates, and this happened. They can cause this, they can cause that. But what about these so-called third world countries? Well, I don't really like that term, because where's the second world? These third world countries that don't have access to these vaccinations. You've got people that live in these remote parts of the world that don't have these vaccinations, and their population will be like, one of them will be like 106 years old, no vaccine. No, it vexed me. I don't even lie. No, it vexed me. But this whole vaccination stuff, no, it gripes me badly.
Just touching on what you said, edit. That's another podcast, by the way. First world, third world, second world, geography. Guys, just going back to, just to kind of round it off also, because we're talking about vaccines now. And I'm going to go back to event 201, simulation. So I was going to read an extract from the vaccine paragraph. So Innovio Pharmaceuticals of Pennsylvania received $9 million from Gates-backed CEPI, so Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovations. I'm not going to say that again. To develop a vaccine called INO 4800, which is about to test on humans in April. They plan on delivering 1 million doses by year end 2020, with existing resource and capacity. Innovio Pharmaceuticals Incorporated announced that it has received a new $5 million grant from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to accelerate the testing and scale up of Selectra 3 PSP priority smart device for the intradermal delivery of these vaccines. A DNA vaccine of a COVID-19 disease. So there's keywords in there. Smart device. Obviously, the key points are money being exchanged. Another keyword is pharmaceuticals. And another keyword is test. But this is going back to everything that we've said about money, about control. If we look at smart device, like what has been remember what I've just said here is part of a simulation. What has been happening? Like anyone that has, I don't know if I'm going to go into it, but just check your devices, whatever device you have, whatever company that you choose to be with. Check your settings. It wasn't until I saw something on social media where someone says, like, your COVID-19 tracking thing is automatically like positioned on your phone already. It's up to you to turn it off. This is.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. I'm aware of that too.
But that's a simulation.
I've actually had a friend who's been approached by the police because of that on their thing, because they didn't quote unquote self-isolate when they entered a new country, and they actually got approached by a law enforcement.
Do you know what they're doing in bars now? Like, because everyone's now allowed to go out a little bit, like they're taking mobile phone numbers from people.
Yeah.
Which I understand, and to track or to maybe communicate to you if you've been in an environment where there's been an outbreak. But look, what's the key theme here? Control.
Control you. Yeah.
Big brother.
Monitoring. Yeah.
100%. The biggest thing for me on this whole thing is, one, I'm not taking the vaccine. Why? Because Bill Gates especially is a known donor to the school that developed the vaccine. One. Two, he is a overt population controlist.
He's a philanthropist, though.
But he also believes in population control.
Yeah. But how do they work hand in hand?
Is that allegedly, or is that?
No, he believes in population control. He says the world is overpopulated, and he wants to work controlling the population. He said this. He has come out and said this.
Okay.
And three, he's friends with Jeffrey Epstein. I'm done.
No, wow.
Wait a minute.
There's too many future podcasts. We're just giving
say a piece and run. You can't.
Wow.
We're just giving our listeners like the next 6 months of podcast.
Drop in. Yeah, fully.
I would just like to say as well, just in case people don't understand, there is a foundation out there called the Bill and I believe it's Melissa Gates Foundation.
Melinda.
Melinda, sorry, thank you very much for correcting me. They have started up a foundation, which is a private foundation, and it is known, according to the Global Health Workforce Alliance, they are the #1 private funders in the entire world. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Their assets have been attributed to be 46.8 billion. That's their assets for just that found. Remember, Bill Gates owns more than just that foundation, but that one foundation has assets of 46.8 billion.
Small change.
Wow.
Yeah. And one of their main goals is to enhance healthcare.
Yes.
That's one of their main goals. So just going off the back of the funding towards the WHO, one of their main goals is to enhance healthcare, which would then coincide with their funding towards the World Health Organization.
Yeah.
Just to, do you know, I just thought of something. I'm just going to throw it out there as it came through my head. You know how sometimes when you get a little bit of power, it can get to your head. Right? Mm-hmm. Whether it be me hosting the podcast today, or whether it be something else, or you know, you get promoted at work or whatever else, it will get to your head a little bit. Now imagine the scales we're talking about here. A person who's got over 46 billion pounds in one foundation. This person is playing God. Believe it or not, he is playing God. There is no other way you want to look at it. Other people may say, oh, he's a humanitarian, but he's still playing God.
100%.
I think it's been mentioned before, and I'll mention it again. This is biblical.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Just another interesting fact. Once again, well, actually, it coincides with the simulation. But when I say simulation, that's something that, so just for viewers, that's like a reenactment of something that either has happened before or is going to happen. But the people who are involved, they're real people. So it's not like they're actors; they're real people. The World Health Organization, its current director, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, correct me. That says here that he's the first World Health Organization director in history who is not a medical doctor. Worked for years on HIV with the Gates Foundation. Tedros is one of the leaders fighting the COVID-19 pandemic. They're the hands that the world are falling into.
And he's not a medical doctor.
Nope.
Wow. And to add more to that, he's also linked to the Chinese scientist that you said. I can't remember his name now.
Yeah.
But I remember the Chinese. Yeah, he's also linked. Yeah, he's also linked to him as well.
So just putting that out there, can you drive a taxi without a driving license?
Well.
Oh, wow.
I'm just saying, can you drive a taxi or drive a car without a driving license?
By the letter of the law, no. By the letter of the law, no.
Can you work in a school without a DBS check?
By the letter of the law, no.
No.
Can you fly a plane without aviation lessons?
No. Logic says no.
But can you run the World Health Organization without any medical background?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
What? Of course.
Wait, no, come on, guys. You were saying yes, or you were saying no all this time. You can't say yes now.
Yeah, but like, do you need to have like some kind of medical background to run an organization like that?
Okay, so that's almost saying this. Then that's almost saying this. Do you need any practical knowledge of the educational system to be a head teacher?
Yep,
of course.
But you don't need any knowledge or practical experience to run a World Health Organization.
Exactly.
Now, you know what they say, brother?
The only way this could work is if the World Health Organization wasn't predominantly concerned with medical health.
You know what they say, it's not what you know, is who you know.
But the point I'm trying to make is this. If you need a driving license to drive a car, if you need to have educational practice and skills and qualification to be a head teacher within that chosen field, if you hear me now, hear this backwards. Now, if you don't need any medical knowledge or practice to run a World Health Organization, what is that saying about the World Health Organization? So let me simplify.
Overstand that.
They might have other agendas outside of health.
No, I'm not saying that. Surely not. So let me say this with using the car analogy. If I tell you that I'm legally driving a car without a license, what would you tell me?
You're breaking the law.
Triple S, you're breaking the law, mate.
Or you might say, well, you can't be driving a car, not in this country. You can't. That's an oxymoron. You can't be legally driving a car in the UK without a driving license because you can't legally drive a car. So therefore, I've got to question: are you even driving that car?
Jeez.
That's all I'm saying.
Look it up, people. Look it up. Look up. Let's look. Like I can't stress enough. Like it doesn't really do it justice. But obviously, we'd be here all night if we were to kind of break it down. But we do encourage you guys to kind of look into. We're giving you kind of maybe the keys to the door, but it's up to you guys to open the door and see what you see in the next room. And we're not saying that we're some profound kind of educated people that know everything. We have to do research as well. And like, if anything comes up where we need correction or kind of maybe guidance in whatever way, then when we're all adult enough to kind of accept developmental feedback or whatever it is. But we're just trying to
we're all learning.
100%. We're just trying to be a platform to kind of just say, I say this all the time, like within my home, but mainly because as a parent and my parent person coming out, but just use your mind, use your brain, like think about it. That goes across that method of being doesn't stop when you're a child. That you have to continue to have that as an adult as well, because if not, the curtains the wall will be pulled over your eyes, or the room will be full of smoke.
This is exactly what I tell my children.
Right screen.
Question everything.
Definitely.
I just want to say off the back of that as well, there was references made to things being of a biblical nature. Now, similarly with my statement about conspiracy theories, do not allow a buzzword or a certain phrase to then cause something in your mind to dismiss the information that's about to come out of this person's mouth because they mentioned something that you don't adhere to, such as any biblical references. And equally, if you are of a biblical, I guess, narrative, if that is your thing, and you hear someone say the word biblical, don't then believe what they say. What we have always said is go out there and do your research. We are not a standpoint where we're trying to push a agenda by any means. These are our own individual as a separate six point of view, and then we have a collective point of view as one step away from. So have that in your mindset. The same what I said about conspiracy theories. Don't dismiss the information now about to come out of that person's mouth because you heard a certain phrase that is apparently dismissive. So therefore, when you hear the word biblical, I'm not saying this is happening, but don't also allow that to go into your head. We have put down what we have researched. We have done our research. We are stating that this is our point of view from one step away from. And the individuals within the one step away from we are individuals within that group. So not necessarily does one person agree or disagree with one and the next. So do your research, please. Make this truth your own.
On that note, ladies and gentlemen, viewers and listeners, we are one step away, the podcast, where we hope to invest the steps to where we are one step away from desirable outcomes and several steps away from undesirable outcomes. Make sure to like, subscribe, give us some feedback, man. Definitely. We want that feedback because that's how we grow. Negative, positive, all of that, we want it so we can grow together. But above all, share with your family and friends. Engage them in this. Have those conversations around your houses and around your people. Thank you.
100.
Bless.
Bless people.
So good, people. So good.
Done.